There are many striking things about FJRD Interactive's Among Trees. It's a cozy survival exploration game with really unique aesthetics and a slow pace that lets me take a breath while I play. Every aspect of this game is laser focused to just let me wind down, enjoy exploring the forest, and let my brain wander. And usually it wanders to something like game design, or, sometimes to things a little bit more personal. The colors, the feelings, the vibes of this game, the progression that it has, the cabin that you're building with your own hands, the bears, just the bears that are there. The way the fog rolls over the water of the lake when you wake up early in the morning, the quacking of the ducks, the gentle hops of the rabbits, and of course, the soothing pitter-patter of the rain hitting your cabin's roof. It's incredible. And of course, there's the solitude of the forest, of the disconnection you've made from everything, of the exact effort of being in the middle of fucking nowhere. When I first played this game, it used to fill me with this yearning for a slower life. Because, who doesn't want something slower? This is not a unique thought to me. I know it's not. This is not a unique observation that I'm having here. We all know that things are too fast and too much all the time, especially in the wonderful year of our Lord, 2025. The thing is, when I started working on this essay 3-4 years ago at this point, I thought that I was cisgender. I've visited this aesthetic forest of Among Trees many times since then, but I never finished writing this piece. There are a lot of things in life that are tied to what I thought my gender was and what I'm still trying to figure out, and that is like its own conversation. But when I first played Among Trees, it was the latter half of 2020, and I was still finding myself as a game designer. I'd recently released Gun and Slinger, and my partner Jam and I were discussing name ideas for our business. Things were so busy, and my life was overflowing with tabletop role-playing games, and I didn't have time to slow down, and this game, Among Trees, was like an escape. It was like a faucet that I could turn up the chill on. And to be clear, things are busier than ever, and I'm still swimming in games. I have a box behind me filled with board and tabletop games that I want to read, to research, and to learn more about this thing that I've been doing for 5 years. Among Trees is, at its core, a game about escape. It tells you right up top, you wanted to get away from it all. And at the time, I thought what I wanted to escape was the breakneck business of modern life and running a business. The Vaporwave Woods were a playground to roleplay someone brave enough to cut ties and start a homestead in the middle of nowhere. I put myself in her shoes, let myself feel pride and wonder at the beauty of the rivers. And I got pulled back at every turn by a call, an email, a message, a tweet, a call, a need. And originally, that's what this piece was going to be about. It was going to focus on the idea of a game filling you with a genuine desire to fuck right off into the ether, but like in a fun and motivated and self-starting kind of way. And I tried writing that piece 3 times, and each of those times it never shook out in a way that I liked. But now, coming back to Among Trees for a 4th time, or 5th, I don't know how many times it's been at this point, genuinely, I find myself thinking about things that have and haven't changed. The game's pretty much the same. It has not received any major updates since the last few times that I've played it, or the last few times that I've tried to write this entire piece. The developers have, unfortunately, stopped working on the project, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And despite that, despite the fact that this game is this thing kind of stuck in time, the things that I'm thinking about when I play it are completely different. How could I capture these vibes at the table in one of the games I design? What can I do at a table with some dice to get players to feel this same sense of wonder and mystery that I get looking at the fireflies through the mist, or fishing at the lake, or hiding from a fucking bear? Again, there are bears in this game. You know, and while we're at it, what does it say about me that I so easily put myself into this character's boots and so readily ascribe she, her pronouns to this nondescript individual that's supposed to be me? That one probably doesn't mean anything, right? The whole point of this piece is to talk about game design, right? Yeah, this is about game design. But, you know, what's game design without identity? Everything we create is influenced by ourselves, and you can easily see the way an individual, especially an indie artist, changes over time through their work. You can see it in Gun and Slinger. You can see hints of my quote-unquote egg cracking in Gun and Slinger, and the things that I've made since then have just been louder and more brave. And you know what? What's identity without our influences? Every single thing that I work on is deeply inspired by the media and projects that I enjoy. So, you know, how is this game influencing my creativity and influencing the art that I make? And what are our influences, the things that inspire us, without the questions that we ask ourselves while we're engaging with them? What does it mean that when I was first playing Among Trees, I was thinking about getting the fuck away from it all, and now what I'm thinking about is being somewhere where I can be myself? Those are different. They're similar, but I hope you can see how they're different. And you know what? Despite everything, despite being in the middle of the woods with no cell phone signal, no real electricity or anything like that, you're never far from reminders of the things that you left behind. There are dilapidated electrical pylons littering the map, and they mark where some of the rarer and more required resources spawn in bulk. Things like metal, rope, lockers of crafted goodies all wait in the shadows of these things that remind you of what hurt you. Things that hurt you so much you ran away to live in the woods. They loom on the horizon like titans of sadness, making you think about how things were, how things are, and how things might have been. And you always have to visit them. That's the worst part. You have to go to these because the materials they provide are far too useful to be ignored, and you can't make them yourself. We always have to go back to some degree. We're always influenced by things that make us who we are, regardless of whether that was in a positive or a negative way. And I think there's a lot there about who I am and who I'm going to become. Among Trees is a truly beautiful game. It's an unfinished piece of wonder that scratches a lot of my brain in ways I don't get to experience often. And it's this thing that gives me the room to think about so much of my own life. It makes me think about figuring out who I am and what I want. It makes me think about game design, and it makes me think about how different things would be if I could figure out so much, and if this world just didn't suck quite as fucking much as it did, to be completely frank. Among Trees itself is not inherently about gender, like to any degree. This is my read of it, and it speaks to me very deeply. And I think that this game just hits in such a way, it makes me think about how freeing self-expression can be. You ran away to the woods, and the first thing you did was start building a cabin there. A cabin all your own with no blueprints from the ground up. That cottage that I'm piecing together is me.